Hey everyone, I'm Andy. Emily and I will be taking you through a few rounds of Lost Empire's War for the New Sun. This is not a full how to play, but these few rounds should hopefully give you a fair idea of how the game plays. If you have any questions, feel free to head over to Board Game Geek or drop a question in the comments and we'll do our best to answer them. There is a link to the latest digital rulebook, FAQ, and errata below. We have set up the game as per the layout on page 3 of the printed rulebook. I will be playing Feng, and Emily will be playing TerraCore. We are both using the starter decks from page 4 of the War for the New Sun rulebook. We have randomly determined who will be the first player, and that will be Emily.
Thanks, Andy. I have shuffled my deck, and I will draw 6 cards to my hand. Since this is the starting round, both Andy and I will start with 2 command and 1 supply. At this moment, I am thinking I would like to get control of at least 1 objective, but hopefully the center objective. The 2 outer objectives will earn me 1 artifact for each of those objectives that I control, but the center objective will earn me 2 artifacts. In order to achieve this, I would need to purchase a unit and play it out to my hive battlefield first. I still must pay to activate it, so I must make sure I have enough command left over to do so. Since we only start with 2 command and 1 supply, my choices are limited. That means I would need a unit with a cost of 1. So I have decided to play Dust Angel. It has a control value of 1, an offense of 2, a defense of 1, and most importantly a cost of 1. I flip a command over and I play Dust Angel. I can't activate it now as a unit can never be activated the same turn as it was played. I am curious to see what Andy does next, so I hand the turn over to him.
Emily has played out a unit to her hive battlefield. She is most certainly wanting to go for the center objective. That is my goal as well. She has played out Dust Angel, which has a control value of 1. She has only 1 command and 1 supply with which to give orders with, so she will more than likely use that to move into an objective. Since Dust Angel has a control value of 1, I need to play out a unit that has control of 2 or more in order to give me a likely victory at the center objective. Felgren Captain certainly fits that role, but costs 2 command. Frontline Patroller has a cost of 1 and a control value of 2, and that's the unit I will play. I am flipping a command token and playing Frontline Patroller to my hive battlefield. I could activate Frontline Patroller, but I want to see what Emily does next, so I hand the turn over to her.
Andy has left me with a bit of a dilemma. The control value of Dust Angel is only 1. If I activate it and move it to the center objective, he could move his Frontline Patroller into the center objective and more than likely win control of the center objective in the control phase. Right now, it's looking like I have to go for one of the outer objectives, but I still would want Andy to make the first move so that I can maneuver around him. I noticed that Dust Marine only cost 1 supply to play. The minimum I am required to do on my turn is either activate a unit or play a unit to my hive battlefield. I am spending my supply and playing Dust Marine to my hive battlefield, and then handing the turn back over to Andy.
Well, I was not expecting Emily to be able to play out a unit. I was hoping I could see where she moved first so I could prevent her from getting any artifacts. The minimum I need to do on my turn is play a unit or activate a unit, and I am now forcing myself to activate a unit as I don't want to spend my command on playing a unit from my hand. Since I don't have many options left, I will spend a command and activate the Frontline Patroller and move it twice to occupy the center objective. I place a drain token on the unit to show that it can't take any more actions this round and hand the turn over to Emily.
As I suspected, Andy has moved straight for the center objective. There is not much I can do with my current hand to prevent that, so I will move Dust Angel to one of the outer objectives using my last remaining command. Having 1 artifact is better than 0 right now, and I feel having the Dust Marine out will help me at the start of the next round. I am handing the turn over to Andy.
Well, I have 1 supply left to spend. I can't use it to activate any units as Frontline Patroller is the only unit I have out right now, and it is drained. I check my hand and I don't have any units or support that cost a supply to play. Having depleted my command and having nothing to spend my supply on, I have no more orders I can give that meet the minimum requirements for the turn, so I must now pass. Passing is not the same as handing the turn over. By passing, I am declaring that I am unable to take any more actions for this turn nor for the rest of this round.
I have no more command nor supply to spend, nor do I have any support cards to play, so I too must pass. Now that we have both passed, we can move on to the next stage of the round, which is the control phase. Starting with the left objective, I have 1 unit in that objective, which makes this an uncontested objective. Since it is uncontested, I automatically win control over that objective and collect 1 artifact. Moving over to the center objective, Andy has a unit in that objective, and that too is uncontested. Because it is the center objective, Andy gets an additional artifact for having control of that objective. Finally, the last outer objective is empty and no one gains any artifacts for that objective.
In the gate phase, we will check to see if any sections of the worm gate can be built. For every 4 artifacts that have been collected, you may build 1 section of your worm gate. In game terms, this means flipping over one of the gate tokens in the order they have been numbered. Emily has 1 artifact and I have 2, so we both are short of artifacts to build our first section of the gate.
In the casualty phase, we will remove units with a damage of 3 from the battlefields to our discard piles. Since we have not been involved in any combat, we will move on to the next phase, which is the wrap-up phase.
The following occurs on the wrap-up phase. Fall back units. Fall back any friendly units at an enemy hive battlefield to an objective with a friendly unit. Emily and I have none, so we'll move on. Ready drained units. We each have a drained unit, so we will remove the drained tokens and ready them for the next round of play. Refresh command and supply. We'll refresh our command and supply. We started this round with only 2 command and 1 supply. Now we will refresh all of them. Draw. We'll each draw a card from our deck. Turn order. Emily will now hand the first player token to me, and we'll start the next round with the order phase and me as the first player. Here we are in round 2 with me as the first player. Emily has earned 1 artifact and I have earned 2. She controls the left outer objective and I have control of the coveted center objective. I have a feeling Emily will be moving into the center objective next turn to attack the frontline patroller. It makes sense as that will give her the opportunity to attack a unit and keep Dust Angel fairly safe because any units I played in my hive battlefield this round will require 2 actions to get to the center objective, and both those actions will have to be move actions. The Fang have a unique keyword ability on some units called Frontline. This ability allows them to move fast and hit a little harder. I have just the unit to do this, the AT Goliath. I can hopefully get some damage into Dust Angel before she moves it away. I flip 1 command and play AT Goliath to my hive battlefield. Usually I would not be able to activate a unit the first turn it was played, but because AT Goliath has the Frontline keyword, I can activate it immediately. Not only that, but Frontline will give me +1 offensive if I use it in an attack in that same activation. So I'm going to flip another command and activate AT Goliath. Flipping a command gives me 2 actions. For my first action, I will move into the outer battlefield that Dust Angel is occupying. For my second action, I will make an attack on Dust Angel. In order to make an attack, I roll the 10-sided result die. Emily will do the same. I roll a 2.
And I roll a 2 as well.
The outcome of this attack will be determined as follows. I will take the offense value of an AT Goliath and add it to the result from my roll, which is of 2. Because of the frontline bonus, I get a +1 to my offense. That brings the total up to 5.
And I take the value of my die roll, which is 2, and add it to Dust Angel's defense value. That will give a total of 3.
In order to determine damage, we compare the values. If my combined value was equal to Emily's value, which it is not, I would do 1 damage. If my value is greater than Emily's, which it is, then I would do 2 damage. So I do 2 damage. A damage token with the number 2 face side up is placed on Dust Angel to show it has suffered 2 damage. But that's not the end of the troubles for Emily's Dust Angel. I look at the ability written on AT Goliath. It says, the first time AT Goliath damages a heavy unit each turn, AT Goliath may make an additional attack. I check the subtype of Dust Angel, and it is indeed a heavy unit, and because I dealt damage to it, I now qualify for another attack. So we go again. I roll the die for an attack, and Emily rolls for defense. I roll a 1.
And I roll a 3.
I add the die result of 1 to my offense value for a total of 3. Because this bonus attack is still a result of that same initial action, I will still get the +1 offense bonus from the frontline keyword. So my total is 4.
I add my result of the die roll to Dust Angel's defense for a total of 4.
My attack value is equal to that of Emily's. As I mentioned earlier, if the values are equal, then the damage is 1. So I deal an additional 1 damage to Dust Angel, bringing its total damage up to 3. Since I am finished with activating AT Goliath, I will place a drain token on the unit to show that it can't be activated again for the rest of this round. I am eager to get Frontline Patroller into the fight, but I can only activate 1 unit per turn. I can play another unit to my Hive battlefield or play a support if I had one in my hand, but for now I will hand the turn over to Emily and see what she does next. Overall, I am happy with the outcome of this turn.
Well, that was devastating. Dust Angel has suffered 3 damage. That means in the casualty phase, it will be removed from play and put into my discard pile. Furthermore, when a unit sustains any amount of damage, its control value is reduced by 1. That means that Dust Angel's control value is now 0. I am having to rethink what I need to do next. Dust Angel is still a good attack-oriented unit. I think I need to attack something before I attract any more damage. 1 more damage and Dust Angel will be removed from play. So I am going to go out in a blaze of glory and attack the Frontline Patroller. Before I do that, I have a quick read of the ability on Frontline Patroller. It says, the first time an enemy light unit moves into Frontline Patroller's battlefield, make an attack on that unit. Okay, that won't affect Dust Angel as it is a heavy unit. So I am safe to move in. I flip a command token. I use the first action to move into the center objective. Then with my second action, I attack Frontline Patroller. I roll the result die. And I get 3.
And now I roll my die. And I get a 1. That's not looking good.
As per the last turn, I will, as the attacker this time, add my offense value of Dust Angel, which is 2, to my die result, which is 3, so that is 5 total.
And I will add the defense value of the Frontline Patroller to that of my die roll, which totals 2.
Once again, if our values were equal, which they are not, then I would deal 1 damage. But my total value is 5 and Andy's is 2, so my value is greater and therefore I do 2 damage to Frontline Patroller. But the ability on Dust Angel says the following. Dust Angel's attacks deal plus 1 damage. So the damage I deal to Frontline Patroller is actually 3. I add a drain token to Dust Angel to show that this unit has no more actions for the rest of the round. Even though Dust Angel took some hard hits, I was still able to hit back and do some damage myself. I am going to hand the turn over to Andy and see what he does next.
All is not lost. I took some damage to a unit, and that is in the course of the rounds to be expected. I have a few options open to me. In the center objective, I still have for now control. Dust Angel is damaged and its control value is now 0. Frontline Patroller is also damaged, but its control is 1 and that still is enough to give me control over the center objective. Emily still has quite a lot of unspent command to give orders with, and that does concern me a little. I am tempted to attack Dust Angel with Frontline Patroller, but I think I will use my remaining 2 command to play out Felgrin Captain to my battlefield. My thinking is that Felgrin Captain will be of more use to me in a battlefield and ready to go the next round. Also, its massive 3 control will almost assure I have dominance in whatever objective it is in. Felgrin Captain's cost is 2, so I flip 2 command, and I play Felgrin Captain out to my battlefield. I choose not to use the frontline keyword and hand the turn over to Emily.
Okay, Andy has played out Felgrin Captain. He has 1 supply left to use next turn. Supply will only give him 1 action. I suspect he will move it into the right outer objective. He may have a support card that allows him to have an additional move, and I do know that Fing has a support that allows for that, so I must consider that as a scenario. For now, I will assume that he does not have that card, and I am in fact hoping that he moves into the right objective as I have a nice surprise for him. Till then, I will spend 1 command and play out Firebird to my Hive battlefield, then hand the turn over to Andy.
I think I know where Emily is sending Firebird. Firebird has an ability that allows it to move into any objective as a single action. So she could essentially move Firebird into the center objective next turn with a single command and still make an attack. If she does try that, Frontline Patroller will get a free attack against Firebird from its ability, as Firebird is a light unit. So I may lose the center objective. If that does happen, I will still more than likely hold onto the 2 outer objectives. I flip my supply and move Felgren Captain to the right outer objective. I hand the turn back over to Emily.
Andy has moved into exactly where I want him to be for my surprise. I am going to play out Orbital Strike. Orbital Strike is a support that costs 1 command to play, and its ability states: choose up to 2 objectives. Deal 1 damage to all units in those objectives. So I will choose the 2 outer objectives. I deal 1 damage to AT Goliath and 1 damage to Felgren Captain. Orbital Strike then goes to my discard pile. Next, I will activate Firebird by flipping a command and moving it to the left outer objective. I made sure I moved Firebird after using Orbital Strike because if Firebird had been in one of the target objectives, it too would have received 1 damage. Andy more than likely thought I would be moving it to the center objective, but I have other plans for that. With my second action, I will make an attack against AT Goliath. I roll a 3.
And I roll a critical result. When a defender rolls a critical value, it automatically wins irrespective of the value the attacker rolls.
That's a bummer, but I am happy with my current position and I hand the turn over to Andy.
Ouch, that hurt. Even more so since I should have suspected something was up by the fact Emily was keeping the objectives free of her units. But no worries, as I have big plans for next round. I am out of command and supply and I don't have anything more to play from my hand, so I will pass.
I hate to do this to Andy, but I am going to make his day a little more miserable. I play from my hand, Airstrike. It is a support that costs 0 to play. The ability on the card says the following: deal 1 damage to 1 unit. So I deal 1 damage to Frontline Patroller. Since the damage on Frontline Patroller is now above 3, it is removed from play immediately and placed in Andy's discard pile. But I am not done yet. I flip my supply token and use that 1 action to move Dust Marine to the left outer objective. And with that, I pass. I feel I made some better gains this round, and since both myself and Andy have passed, we can move on to the next phase, which is the control phase.
We are now back in the control phase of round 2. Starting with the left objective, Emily has a control of 1 from Firebird and a control of 1 from Dust Marine for a total of 2 control. I have a control of 2 from AT Goliath, but because it is damaged, its control is 1. So Emily deservedly wins control of this objective. She gets 1 artifact.
Just to interrupt for a moment, but one of the keywords on Firebird is Ruthless. When a unit with Ruthless wins control of an objective, that player may deal 1 damage to an enemy in that objective. So I will choose AT Goliath to receive an extra damage.
Moving on to the center objective, Emily once again wins control of this objective. Even though Dust Angel now has a control of 0, she still wins control because there is no unit there to contest it. She gets 2 artifacts. And finally, I win control of the second outer objective as it is also uncontested. I get 1 artifact.
We now move into the gate phase. Andy has 3 artifacts and is still not able to build the first section of his gate. I, on the other hand, have 4 artifacts. With 4 artifacts in hand, I must hand them in and flip over the first Worm Gate token to reveal the first section of the Worm Gate being built. If I had any additional artifacts, those would carry over and contribute to the build of the next section. A maximum of 1 section can be built per Worm Gate phase.
And now the casualty phase. We will remove from play any units that have 3 damage. Dust Angel is the only unit with 3 damage and is moved to Emily's discard pile.
And finally, the wrap-up phase. Following the steps from the previous round, we have no units to fall back, so we will skip this step. We'll ready all the drained units. Refresh our command. Draw a card. And lastly, Andy will hand the first player token to me.
And that concludes round 2. I think we will leave this here and hope that you got an idea of how Lost Empire's War for the New Sun plays out. As we mentioned in the beginning that this is not a complete how-to guide, so make sure you still read the rulebook to fill in the other details that have not come up in our 2-round playthrough. If I could give some final notes, Lost Empires is not always about attacking, and more than often a well-placed unit wins the game. Also, manage your resources. You only draw one card per turn, and if you run out of units, you run out of units. So think carefully about what you do with the ones you have. Hope you have fun playing Lost Empires, and let us know if there are any other video topics you'd like covered.